So during the course of putting together this book about the 2009 Saints, I've spoken to a lot of interesting guys, heard a lot of great stories. One of those guys was Mike Detillier, who, first of all, story aside, his accent, I could just listen to the guy talk all day about anything. But Mike got to talking. We spoke for over an hour just about football and, love sharing stories. And he shared a couple about Doug Atkins that I thought, obviously, it's got nothing to do with the 2009 Saints book, but it was worth sharing. So I wanted to put together this video and just kind of give you a little behind the scenes of some of the stories that he shared. I hope you enjoy it.
Atkins was one of the true characters of life. Because in year one, they were training in San Diego. It was beautiful. It was 3 days in San Diego, but they were playing at, it's not even in existence now, but they were practicing on a field that overlooked the Pacific. They were almost like on a mountaintop, overlooking the Pacific. It was cool. You always had a cool breeze. And Doug never had a roommate in the dorm at University of San Diego. Never had a roommate. He brought that dog with him, that big pit bull. And that was the roommate. Doug would go out at night. The dog drank every bit as much as Doug. They'd have to clean an ashtray glass and pour the liquor in there so the dog could drink out of the deal. And one night, they had a group of guys that were playing Motown music above him. And Doug had quite a load in him. And they started to play it loud. And one of these 2x4s that fell under his bed, Doug was so big, and it fell on the ground. Doug took the 2x4 and he rammed it on the side. Hey, guys, stop playing that music. And Doug said, man, they stopped for a little while. And he said, man, they cranked it back up. Doug was, enough's enough. Doug always carried that pistol with him. Always had that pistol with him. He took that pistol and he went to the corner and he shot 3 times. Pow, pow, pow. Through the ceiling into that room. Said the next thing you know, he said, I had 4 guys jump into hedges from the 2nd floor down. Doug said, man, thinking about it, I could have killed all of them. He said, I didn't know where they were. And he said, we put 3 holes into that deal, man. He said, next thing you know, he said, I see them all jump out of the window onto the hedges, and they were rolling on the ground, taking off running. That was Doug. That was Doug Atkins.
God.
He thought that was, he's like he said back then, I thought that was all funny. He said, I could have killed all of them in there into the deal. That and a story that Buddy and Pete and Atkins all have the same story. They go drinking one night, and they're at a bar. Doug brings that dog with him. And Doug got quite a bit. But also who was drinking that night at the bar is Fred Whittingham. And his son coaches for Utah today. He's the head coach at Utah. But Fred was, God. You talk about a dude, if you were in a fight, you wanted him. He was unreal. So Doug's in there drinking, and he's talking to Buddy and Finney. All of a sudden, he said, man, we could hear a ruckus. And Fred Whittingham is trying to fight like 6 guys in the bar. And the whole bar starts fighting. Well, Doug, he never moved. He's just sitting there drinking. The dog's drinking out of the ashtray. Buddy and Peter watching. And he said somebody got pushed fairly close to Doug. And he said, Doug got up and he said, man, he could whistle, with his fingers through his teeth. Hey! And he said it was like an old Western. They stopped, like everybody's punch was like froze. And Doug was, okay, guys, if you're going to fight, fight. But if anybody touches me or this dog, then you're going to deal with me. You got it? and everybody just looked at him. Y'all can go back to fighting. But he said, everybody was throwing punches. Well, Doug didn't realize, Fred didn't realize he was fighting with an undercover cop. Next thing you know, dude, they got 6 cops out there. And they finally got the cuffs on him and threw him in the back seat of the car. And he's trying to kick the wind in. So Doug gets up, he goes walk out there. He said, Fred, what's going on? Doug, you got to come bail me out. You got to come bail me out, man. They got me on a bogus charge. Don't worry about it, Fred. I'm going to take care of it. Doug went in there, drank all the rest of the night. never got a... So the next day, they go to the game. Now, this is when the game started at 1 o'clock, not at 12. Doug said, man, I was always fairly early to go to the game because he said, man, I always sort of wanted to loosen up a little bit. I was 38, 39 years old. I had to loosen up a little bit. He said, we look around and said, Coach Fears was, where's Fred Whittingham? Oh, Doug was, Coach, I forgot to tell you. I think Fred might be in jail. He said, what do you mean? He said, no, he got in a fight last night. I said, well, why didn't you say something? He said, man, it's just coming to my mind right now. So Meekum gets his limo driver. They drive to the police station. They bail him out. Fred's late for the game. He misses the first series on defense. He comes into the game. He had 11 tackles. He had a tackle for a loss, an interception, and a fumble recovery. The Saints end up winning the game. In the locker room, Coach Fears gives the game ball to Fred Whittingham. So, anybody got anything to say? Doug said, I do. So, Doug didn't have to stand up on the bench. He was the bench. He stood up. He said, Fred, I'm going to tell you something. Next home game, you come and party with me. Because if you can do this with a hangover, just think what you could do if you were sober. Man,
crazy.
Back then that was something. But that's some old stories. But man, it was unreal.
Yeah, crazy
it was
times.
A nut house.
Yeah, I can't even imagine anything like that these days. I mean, that's
not today.
That's
not
hysterical.
Today.
Yeah.
Doug Blue, Sports Illustrated came out with posters of, and I actually got a few of them at my house, of all the football stars back then. Really nice posters. And this guy at the bar, he bought a bunch of them. Fran Tarkington, Don Meredith, Joe Namath, you name them. All the top quarterbacks, Bart Starr. Doug got a load on him one night, and he's drinking and drinking and drinking. And he starts talking about, got to play the Giants and Fran Tarkington. He run all over the field. I never can catch him. Said, I hate that. I hate that. Well, they got a picture of Fran Tarkington that's framed on the wall. They'll take that pistol out and blew that that picture off the wall. Then he starts shooting the rest of them off. Needless to say, the guy didn't put no more pictures of NFL people up there.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, he was a pistol packer, and before he died, when we did that throwback show, man, he admitted that man, he said, I went everywhere with that pistol. He said, and that could have literally, he said, today, it's a different world, but he said back then, man, I could have gotten a lot of trouble. He said, sure. I had a bad temper, and had I lost it, like he said, some common sense came over me a few times that I didn't use it. But he said, then sometimes common sense didn't win the battle. And he blew them pictures off the wall and put 3 holes in a ceiling because the guys were playing music too loud. But that was Doug. And you can't do that kind of stuff today.
No way. No way.
Just, you wouldn't... they would ban you from the league from life, into that. And I hated to see what happened with Doug at the end. The NFL really didn't take care of those older guys, and he lived a really difficult life late in his life. Mm-hmm. Mike Ditka was paying his bills, to be honest. He could not. He didn't have the money to pay utility bills and stuff like that because he had so many illnesses and aches and pains and
medical
everything
stuff.
else. And so Mike ended up paying, all of his electrical bills and stuff like that. And, It's sad to see kind of the way it ended with Doug, because he's you in Pro Football's Hall of Fame, and you poverty, so to speak.
Well, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed that. If you like the Saints history kind of stuff, that's mostly what I do on this channel. So go ahead, give it a like, subscribe, do all those algorithm kind of things. If it's not your thing, I appreciate you watching all the same. Who dat? We'll see you on the next one.